Hi chess friends, this is KingsExecutor and I'm going to show you a game now which I have just played 2 hours ago. And this is a club match and I was on board 1 playing the Bird's opening with f4, of course, my favorite opening. And it might well be that people already are aware of my repertoire or my concentrated repertoire, and but I am not afraid in any way of any preparation. I don't think that they can find anything against it because I'm really armed against the gambits and anti-bird lines. So people should normally stick with grabbing the center in principal manner. Okay, my opponent didn't play the standard setup with c5 and the fianchetto variation, which is what black should do. He played another possibility with knight c6, and this possibility gives this bishop the opportunity to land a check on c5 later on when I have castled and my king is on g1. And if the pawn was there, this opportunity wouldn't occur. But let's look what it achieves for black to play this variation. g3, bishop f5, bishop g2, e6, and castles. Knight f6. Okay, this is really the game that should take away every doubt you have on the Bird-Leningrad. The Bird-Leningrad might look as it would seem as it would weaken this diagonal, especially in conjunction with this knight later on. But I will show you the way to handle this, and I will show you how easily black can go wrong and how my pieces are gonna crawl all over him. d3, I'm not blocking bishop c5 check. I don't wanna play a move like, let's say, I don't know, what move could I do? Let's give black even a move here with check. I don't have to block and I don't want to block. I can, of course, but I want to play d3 and e4. So I would play king h1, and if knight g5, well, I can easily cover that. And if a move like knight b4 to attack here and threaten a fork, I play knight a3, which is a standard developing move. Afterwards I can kick the knight and play d3, and I can play e4, and I have my queen where I want it, and I can even play h3 if needed. Everything with, okay, not everything, but many moves with tempo, because my opponent tries to attack where he hasn't got anything to attack. Let's go back. Black to move, and he plays bishop c5 check. This is alright, and I'm not blocking with e3 or anything. I'm not wasting time. I play king h1. Well, if your opponent seeks for well, threats which are only ghosts and illusions, let him come if you are prepared, or if you have calculated it beforehand. If you are able to calculate all the possibilities, then you can let him come. This is what my opponent played, and he's threatening to win my queen. So I play queen e1, and of course knight f2 check would just lose the exchange for black. And now he played knight b4, so he's combining all the threats that seem to be a threat in my opponent's view, and I play knight a3, which I would probably play anyway. It's a normal developing move in the bird opening. And now he sees that there's nothing. If you want to play knight e3, I take this, and now you see the knight is hanging, so knight e3 is not possible. In this position, my opponent realized that there's nothing. He was kind of frustrated. I saw it. He looked at me and he was like, "Dude, you don't even look at the board. Why are you so easily handling my threats?" Well, because I'm aware of the threats, because I was preparing for this attack on that so seemingly weakened diagonal, and he couldn't find anything, so there is nothing for black to attack. And now, being frustrated, he played knight back to c6, which is a big mistake. And this is what I told you just a second ago. You can go wrong very easily in a position where you are searching for threats which are no threats. Instead of developing and castling, you're fooling around, giving me tempi. I wanted to play queen e1 anyway. I got my knight out, and now I'm ready to play e4, and in this position even winning the exchange with e4. This pawn is taken, and now there are different options. If bishop g5, I can play f5 or h3, but f5 is a little bit better. h3 now, knight back, g4, takes, and now I can take here. And you see the queen is very handy here on e1, covering that square, so there is nothing for black. And opening up the game here is a very good idea, because I'm ahead in development and the opponent's king is stuck in the middle, and if it recaptures, let's just drop back. If he castles, he just simply loses a pawn, and I would be able to play queen g3. Let's just look at it. Castles, queen g3 here, and this knight is kind of move bound here. If h5 to cover it, there is bishop g5, very strong. And if the queen stays on the d file, the rook can come into the game. And you see this is lost for black. Let's drop back. If he takes, now bishop g5 is even stronger, because f6 isn't possible. If queen d7, rook d1, and well, the queen cannot find any squares. Queen h4 is very strong, now attacking the knight, developing the queen, and if h6 to attack my piece, I just drop back. The knight is still attacked, so it probably has to go back. e5 is very strong then, and if g5 I can even take here. The pawn is pinned to the rook. Let's just drop back, and I just with e5 open up my bishop. It's very, very overwhelmingly strong for me. Let's drop back to this position. If instead of h6, h5 to keep the knight there, knight d4, having a discovered attack, and after a move like queen g1 we can take here and play e5, and you see all the white pieces are killing black. Black cannot castle, and he's going to be checkmated soon. Okay, is there anything I missed in this position? No. So let's just drop back so we don't get confused. Again, my opponent dropped back with his knight because he couldn't see anything, and if he wouldn't have dropped it back, I would have played c3, probably kicking it, afterwards e4, and still have my same idea. Knight c5, e4, takes, and we looked at bishop g5. Afterwards, f5 would have been the move. And the other possibility, if you don't wanna lose, or you are losing the exchange as black anyway, so you can go knight f2 check as well. And this is the game continuation. I took this, and of course there's the possibility of check. This is not what my opponent played. If we would have played it, I would have gone knight e1. Sorry. The pawn is covered by the bishop, and afterwards, if bishop g5, g6 here, then I can play knight b5, threatening a fork, and if this is covered, I can play bishop e3, developing my bishop and threatening rook d1 soon after I drop my knight back to cover that square, of course. And I'm very strong here. I have space, I have the bishop pair, I have open files, and the queen is kinda lacking retreat squares. Okay, let's drop back. So queen d1 check is no good. My opponent took the pawn, and I played bishop e3 anyway to get my rook out soon. And of course I now have a lot of pressure against black's queen side. Black castled, and I was waiting for this move. I played bishop c5 with tempo and rook e1. Well, if bishop d5, of course I kick the bishop, and then it has to exchange, and I can take with the bishop or with the queen. Probably with the bishop is stronger, keeping the attack going. And afterwards I can go knight b5, or go here, or I can push my pawns to open up lines against the queen side for my bishops. So in this position my opponent didn't play knight bishop d5, but f5, and now I played knight e5. Why? I'm exchanging the most active pieces of my opponent because I am the exchange up, and I'm activating my bishop pair. He found nothing better than taking this. Of course I'm threatening to simply take and recapture, forking the rooks, so he has nothing better probably to just take this, which he did. And I could have taken with the rook, but this is against my principle of thought. If I take this and there's a check, I can go back and queen d7. And what did my opponent achieve? He got his queen to d7 with tempo, and black is to move. So let's drop back. So this is why I take the knight with the pawn. And now it's very difficult. You see this pawn is hanging, and well, how to deal with it? It's so desperate even that my engine would suggest b6, And well, let me see, what about this? Okay, this is not possible, of course, because of check. So let's drop back. So I have to drop my bishop back, but still you see the weakened light squares here, and my knight is coming into the game very soon. So this is strategically lost. Let's drop back. I took with the pawn, and after this situation my opponent dealt with the pressure by playing c6, which is what I expected as one of the opportunities, and I've of course immediately pointed my finger at the weakened square d6, and I wanna sink a knight in there. Queen d7 was played, and I gained tempo by playing knight to d6. But interestingly, my opponent didn't play rook to d8. Well, if he would have, probably I would have to go bishop takes a7. Why do I say I have to win this pawn? Well, I don't actually like this very much, because I'm activating the opponent's rook. This is not the game continuation, but let's look at it. If b5 to attack the bishop, bishop b6 attacking the rook, and now queen c5 is very strong. I'm threatening to take on c6 with the bishop, attacking queen and rook. So rook takes a2, bishop takes c6, and if queen e7 to get out of any attacks, you see I'm controlling all these squares, at least. Then I have a strong move, knight takes, bishop, and the queen is attacked, so takes, takes, takes. And now bishop d5, very strong. If takes, e6. This has to be taken. This must be taken. Check, and now you see that the pawn here is covered. But this is of course a long variation, and this is why I in principle don't like opening up the game for my opponent that much. But it would have been correct, but it's not. It's a little bit double-edged, such positions. I rather prefer to keep this closed, have my space advantage, and have these pieces dormant here and attack the king if possible. This is one approach. The other approach is to weaken the pawns and activate my bishops even more. If you have a bishop pair, you should open up the game by exchanging pawns. Let's look at this opportunity, b4. As I said, if b6, for example, you go back, and if the rook gets out of the diagonal of the bishop, c4, and if f6 to liberate black's position against this strong monster knight, this would be a wrong approach. And if not, what else? Black's position is falling like a house of cards. And if f6, I take this bishop, and after exchanging pawns, you see that black's position is shattered. Queen f3, threatening c6, and how to keep this pawn alive? If b5, I simply take on c6, and if rook to c8, I can play bishop f4, attacking the rooks, and now b5, and you see check, check, takes, takes, takes. This is easily won. So in this position, maybe my opponent thought, I don't know, He's waiting for me to win the game and he doesn't want to help me by winning pawns. Well, he decided to play b6 here in this position. That for me wins the exchange again. That makes me being a piece up here. You see, this bishop is extra. Okay, up to this point I played the opening perfectly. This is kinda verified by the engine. And I'm sometimes frustrated by my opponent's approaches. I'm not happy that they play it this way they do. They attack what they think is attackable, which is not. If they would find the correct antidote to it by my side, they probably would understand that castling instead of attacking is better. And in such situations I tend to get a psychological factor in my thinking process, and that is that I think I want to punish my opponent very hard for playing in such a wrong opening manner. And this is tending to make me wanna attack the opponent's king and mate him very fast. And this is maybe my my weakness. This is a character-based weakness, I guess. I played the opening perfectly, but now with my advantage I wanna crush him and punish him and show him you played wrong. Rook d8 was the move, and I thought, okay, maybe something like g4, and if let's look at it, it's not working. If g4 takes, and I thought queen h4, and if bishop back, then bishop here, and if here, then here maybe. And if takes this way, but it's not working, unfortunately. I'm threatening check and mate. But after king h8 and let's say queen here, well, the rook can come to g8. This is why it's not working. Of course, let's just drop back to this position after queen h4. h5 is a possibility as well, so it's not working that fast. Let's just drop back. g4 is out of the question, therefore, and well, I exchanged the last active piece of black. This is of course correct. Takes, and c5 now to open up this diagonal against the king. I was aware of that, and I played rook g4. A very strong move for at least one reason. Check was played, and I played king g1. Why did I play king g1 and not queen g2? This would have been correct as well, but I thought I saw a quick attack, and I wanted to keep my attacking pieces. And in this position, queen d5 was played. Okay. And this is again the point I was talking about, where you see the weakness of my character. I think everyone has his weaknesses. Korchnoi says that he has as well the weakness of trying to get his goal or achieve his goal too fast. What I was thinking of is the move I played, which is objectively a draw. I played Queen f6. And the point of Queen f6 is, of course, this pawn is pinned. My queen is not attacked. I'm attacking the rook with a threat of mate, and I'm attacking g6 with the threat of mate. And I thought that my opponent cannot cope with both. I thought that after queen d1 check, king g2, queen e2 check, king h1, I thought that now my king is safe. The problem is, let's look at it, check. The problem is, if I would have gone here, then he can sacrifice the queen to win a rook. Now the queen is not protected anymore by the pin here, and now I have lost a rook. If I would have lost the rook. So this is why in this position I realized I cannot play king h3. So I went back, and he went queen d1, and I played king f2, trying to find a square where I can execute my winning move. Check, check. I tried to get out of the checks here, so my king is marching down the board here, and I was afraid of moves like takes, and I have to recapture because of check, and then some sort of move, but that would be losing. My opponent played queen d1 check, king c3, king c1 check, king b3, and now my opponent missed his opportunity. This position is a draw. My opponent played c4 check. Let's just drop back. If queen d1, I would have to go to a3 with the king, because I would lose the rook with check. I would have to go a3, and of course the rook is immune because there's the threat of checkmate. But then queen d3 check, and there are two possibilities. If I play king a4, then queen a6 is the saving grace, and after a move like, or the only move, king b3 check, and so forth. This is a perpetual check. Let's drop back to this position. If b3, then check again, check, and if king c3 to get out of the perpetual, check, check. So you see, this is a draw. Let's drop back to this position. So queen d1 check was the move. My opponent went wrong. This is of course not that easy because we already played a long game, and my opponent was suffering the whole game through, and I gave him this objective opportunity to draw the game. Unfortunately, this is what I really hate about my weakness of trying to play too fast. c4 check, king a3. This was the continuation. King a3 is the best move. Queen e3 check, b3, queen c1 check, king a4, b5 check, and I took this pawn, and on rook b8 check I would simply take the rook, of course, and now I'm still threatening this and this at the same time. So after g6 here, then, well, rook d4 is a mate threatening move. So in this position a6 was tried, and of course I dropped back, and now there are no checks available for black anymore. So my opponent didn't manage to find the perpetual, and in this position he cannot defend. He is going to be mated next move, or very quickly. Let's look at this variation: check and check. Let's drop back. If g5, then again takes this time, sorry, queen f6 check this time, and now queen h6 threatening to mate on f8. And if the computer move here, we can take this, and now it's mate. Okay, let's just look at the game again in a quick fashion, because it was a lot of different variations I shown you, which explain you why I played the way I did. d3 I played and check. The threat is easily rebuffed, and this is the typical way to play for as club players. They try to find water in the desert. In this position, castles should have been played, trying to use every tempo for a useful move. And in this position my opponent saw that he had nothing, and he went back, and this is exactly the time to win the exchange for me. This happened several times to me, that my opponent overlooked this combinations for me. Check, takes, bishop e3, and now you see I get my pieces very nicely here, and I played knight e5, takes, c6 to stop the bishop from attacking b7, and now knight c4. You see the developing move of the knight to a3 is not stupid at all. You see how nice this knight can come to d6 here, and b6 was the decision of my opponent. He gave me even more material. Bishop e4 takes, c6, rook g4, and where did I go wrong? After queen d5, the move was takes. And if king takes, check, 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 and mate. Let's drop back to rook takes, g7, which was the objectively correct move. King h8 would have been the only move, but then rook takes f6, pinning the queen, takes, winning easily. The other possibility was to, go back here, not here, because of queen d1 check, winning the rook here, and the threat simply is queen f6 checkmate. And if f5 is the only move, then bishop e7, very funny. If check here, king g2, and if rook here, checkmate. So let's drop back to this position. Rook takes, g7 was the correct move here. I played queen f6, and I saw that my route here doesn't work, so I had to find another way. Go here, and in this position my opponent went wrong, and I managed to get out of the checks, and in this position my opponent resigned. I hope you liked the game. I hope now you saw that in the opening itself the bird is absolutely correct, solid, and really weakness free. This is my opinion, and I hope I've shown you how to deal with the really illusionary threats of your opponents. That this opening is not being refuted by intuitive means, and not even by objective means. This is a very nice opening, and I'm winning game after game after game with this opening. You saw I had the exchange, I was the exchange up in the opening because my opponent tried to fool around, and you saw that this opening really came to life, and yeah, I'm winning really almost every game. I have a 95% winning percentage with white playing this opening, and you see, you should play this opening as well. I hope you liked it. Please comment, subscribe, like. See you next time. Thanks.